The next section in our chapter 6 begins on page 19. We're going to create some static and animated masks in After Effects. So a mask is a vector shape that we draw on a layer, and depending where the mask is, our layer below it is either visible or invisible, much like we do in Photoshop. Using a mask in After Effects gives you more control over layer visibility for each layer. You can crop out areas of a layer that you don't want viewers to see, and by using an animated mask, you have a customizable method of making a layer appear or disappear over time so that it doesn't have to be revealed all at once. What we're going to do now is we're going to draw and animate simple masks on two of our layers so that they appear to be wiping in from the left. So the first thing we're going to do is begin by drawing a mask around the poolside logo. So the poolside logo, we're actually going to make sure that we have the poolside logo outlines layer selected in our layer panel in the timeline. Now we have that selected in our composition window. And we're going to go up to our toolbar and we're going to choose the rectangle tool, which you could have the ellipse or something else, but make sure that we're in the rectangle tool. And then from there, we're going to see two icons over to the right, a star that says this tool will create a shape, or better yet, next to it, this tool will create a mask. So that's the option that we want to turn on. And when you turn it on, it's going to be blue. So now the rectangle that we make is actually going to be a mask, not a shape. All right, so with these settings, we're going to come down here and we're going to marquee a rectangle slightly bigger than our poolside logo that we have outlined. Mine is in blue, so I'm going to go a little bit bigger than that, and I'm just going to marquee out a mask that is the shape of a rectangle and then let go. And notice that it shows up down here in the panel as a mask 1, and there's a color assigned to it. Yours could very well be different than mine, but that does put a mask around our entire logo. So the mask itself is selected down here, and how it works is just some vector points, and you can move it around. So we're going to take our move selection tool and we're just going to move it around to see how it works. As we move this around, we either can not see the logo or we can see it. So the mask is actually it's actually working as everything on this layer is being covered except what's inside of this window. So when we move our window over, we can just see little pieces of our logo showing through. So after you've moved it around, do Command Z until you get it back to its original position, or simply move it to that original position. So right now, this is how it would appear in this state. So right now we are at frame 0. So if our animation were to start, everything would be visible. This is how we want it to appear a few seconds into our animation, so we're going to do some changing. But the other thing that we want it to do is, if this is going to animate and come in from the left, this is going to be the leading edge, which is straight up and down. So the letters are going to appear little by little, straight up and down. We're going to make this at an angle right here so that it kind of looks like they're coming in at an angle. So we are going to make sure that our mask is still selected down here, and we're going to hold down our Shift key and we're going to deselect 3 of these anchor points, not the top right one. We're going to leave that one where it is. So Shift click on the other 3 anchor points, and then from there we're going to take this point and we're going to start dragging it to the right, and to hold it from going up and down like this, we're going to hold the Shift key to keep it on that same level, and we're going to pull out so that it's right underneath the letter Y and the word buy above it. So we're kind of coming out to like a 45-degree angle basically. And that's the shape of our mask that we wanted to create. We're going to make a mask that is similar looking for this next line up, the new music video buy. So we're going to go down in our layers panel and we're going to select that, the new music video buy. We have our selection points around that. We're going to choose our rectangle tool again, and we're going to draw a similar rectangle around this as well. I have the touchiest, okay, undo. I have the touchiest mouse here at home. It's garbage. All right, so there's my new mask. Notice it drew in green. It kind of picks a different color each time it does it. So there's my new mask. I'm going to switch back to the selection tool. You can press the letter V or go up here and get your selection tool. And then we're going to shift click on the 3 anchor points. I'm going to leave that top one selected. Then we're going to take that and start pulling it out. We're going to hold shift and again make about that same angle, like a 45-degree angle or something very similar to what we did before. All right, once we've done that, we've made 2 masks and we can see those over here in our layers panel. So the outline logo has a mask attached to it, as does the text layer, a new music video by. What we want to do now is animate the masks so that they appear in a custom way. So the current state, what we see right now on our screen, is how they're going to appear when they're done animating, meaning we can see all of the words. So we're going to set keyframes for the mask path properties on both layers, and then we're going to animate backwards from there. So we're going to take our playhead forward, and you know what I forgot to do in this whole darn thing? The very first step we should have done was fix something that was a problem early on. This whole composition is way longer than it's supposed to be. It was supposed to match the size of our production Ladders movie, which was 6 seconds long. And I noticed a long time ago that mine said 30 seconds, and for some reason I just trusted that it would work out. It doesn't. So I now have a 30-second duration here. So we need to pay attention to some problems we're having here. First thing that we're going to do before we do any animating is we're going to change the duration of this composition. So check yours. Hopefully yours is right, but just in case. So under composition, we're going to look at composition settings. And right here in the duration, mine is at 30 seconds and it should only be 6. I'm hoping yours is at 6, but let's see. So we're going to say okay to that. All right, now my whole composition is just 6 seconds long. So if I were to play this out, nothing's animating yet, but it's only 6 seconds. So moving on, they want us to have this transition happen in the first 1 second of the whole 6 seconds. So we're going to move our playhead forward and snap it to the 1 second point, or 24 frames, however you want to look at that. So at the 1 second point, this is how we want our composition to look. All of these words are fully exposed by the mask. So adjusting our playhead to this point, we want to select not only a new music video by, we've got that selected, but we also want to hold Command and select Poolside Logo Outlines. And in order to see properties for our mask, which we can't see yet, they're not twirled open, we're going to hit the M key, and that is going to show our mask properties. Notice how they both have a stopwatch, and remember, the first time you hit the stopwatch is making the first keyframe, and you can animate backward or forward from there, it doesn't matter, but that just sets the original keyframe. So from here, we're going to click the stopwatch for mask 1, and the stopwatch for mask 1 on the other layer. So at the 1 second point, this is how they are going to look. All right. From here, we are going to get our playhead back to 0. So you can either drag it or Command Option left arrow. And we're going to specifically pick, for the Poolside Logo Outline version, we're going to click on the mask path property name. Whoops, this one. Notice that that selects all 3, the mask itself and the outlines. It's selecting the entire mask. And with our selection tool, we're going to drag the mask to the left. We're going to pull it off of these words, and we're going to hold Shift while we do that, just so that the mask stays on that same level point. So we're going to grab this, we're going to start pulling our mask. Whoops, got to make sure I have all 3 of them. So make sure that mask is the one selected. Start pulling, and again, if you hold Shift and pull it to the left so that it's off of your words completely. None of those are visible. They are fully masked at this point, and then let go. So again, you can kind of picture this as everything in this zone outside of these lines is not able to be seen. Only the things inside of this shape are able to be seen. And right now there's nothing to see, but eventually it's going to animate off to the right and it's going to work. So to see that, we're going to do a RAM preview, and our mask is going to come in from the left over the course of that first 1 second or 24 frames. So I'm just pressing 0, or you guys, it would be Control 0 to do that. So we successfully animated that first mask. Now we're going to do the same thing on the text layer. Make sure that we're back at 0, and we are going to get the mask path. We're going to click on this lower one right here, and that's going to highlight all 3 of them. The entire mask itself is going to be picked, and we're going to start pulling that to the left. Hold Shift and pull that completely off so that no words are visible at frame 0 as well. And notice when we did that, it added a keyframe right here to frame 0, just as we did before with our poolside logo layer. So not visible, not visible, and by the time they hit 1 second in, they are fully visible. When your playhead hits this point, they're fully visible. All right. We're going to do some special effects to those like we did before with the easy ease and the motion blur transition. So we're going to marquee select these last 2 keyframes to select them, so that's going to affect how they behave. And once you've marquee selected those, we're going to go up to Animation, and we're going to choose Keyframe Assist, Easy Ease. And then they change from diamonds to looking more like an hourglass or an anvil. And if we do a RAM preview again, it should slow down a little. It should have that slight easing at the very end. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to apply the motion blur, and we do that all within the project, the layers over here and all these different columns. And remember, if you can't see these columns, there's a switch down here that toggles between switches and modes. So for those 2 layers, with both of them selected, we're just going to turn on that bouncing ball icon. It's going to turn on for both of them. That's your motion blur. But for it to actually be applied, we need to turn it on overall up here using this button. So we're going to click right here, and that's going to enable the motion blur for all layers with the switch set, which are these 2. And if we do a RAM preview, we have a little bit more natural looking animation. All right.